Alright, welcome everyone. This is Kevin from Chanamano League bringing you an M14 Prerelease Draft. This is a very special draft. I have my good friend and yours, Mark, also known as Lucky Draw, on MTGO with me to do a team draft.
Yo.
So we'll jump right in. Opened up a Jace, which, I don't think this Jace is actually worth a whole lot. But let's see. I'm going to take it anyway, probably. But, yeah, alright. So it's about 8. Either way, I'm taking it. No way I'm passing the Planeswalker here.
It's pretty broken and limited where you don't have to mill them all that much.
True. And drawing a card is never bad. So that's going to be the pick. We have both done one M14 draft at the Magic shops in our town. So I would say that we're pretty much the experts on M14 at this point.
Sure.
But I've been blue-green and been pretty happy with that. But Jace is going to be the pick. Didn't talk about a whole lot else. Pitchburn Devils is pretty sick, and other than that, nothing too amazing in this pack. Other than the
I saw an Air Servant and a Mana Weft Sliver.
I think it was a Water Servant. Water, which I don't think is quite as good as the Air. Yeah, I don't think Goblin Diplomats is probably what we want to do.
Oh, really?
You think it's good?
I think he's pretty good. I mean, he doesn't go all that well with Jace, which is a more defensive, long, drawn-out game kind of card. But forcing them to attack with everybody when they don't want to seems pretty solid.
Alright, so that's a possibility. Let's see what else we got in here. The Mana Weft is pretty good, I think. Spore Mound seems pretty good. Charging Griffin's not bad. This seems like a pretty strong pack. We got a Chandra's Outrage, which I think is probably one of the better removals, like the best removal spell, maybe?
It's up there. There's a Root Wall.
And a Root Wall. So, I think Diplomats is okay, but I think I'd probably lean more towards the Root Wall or the Outrage. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I like Diplomats a lot. I think we talked earlier about taking rares early on, but whatever you want is good.
We'll try the Diplomats. I'm not sure about that one, but we'll see. Oh, there's a foil at Johnny's Chosen.
Play enchantments?
I don't think that's amazing unless you have a ton of enchantments. Enlarge is very good. And that might be the pick. There's also Train Condor, which is really strong. And, of course, Deadly Recluse is pretty good. So there's definitely some picks here. I think Enlarge is probably the best, but maybe Train Condor. We do already have a blue card we want to play. But, I don't know, Enlarge is pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just how much better is Enlarge than Condor, since you're already in a Condor color.
That's true. And there's a Celestial Flare. I actually looked right past that. That's really strong, too.
Yeah.
So I think in any set where you're doing 3 of the same pack, it's pretty important to stay open and not lock yourself into any color. And because of that, I think I'm going to take the Enlarge here. What do you think about that?
I think that's a good pick.
All right. I think there's some definitely arguments to be made for all of those. Traumatize goes with the Jace milling plan, but I don't think I probably want to take that here. That might even wheel, maybe. Howl of the Night Pack, I think it's more of a mono-green type card, although it's okay if you end up with, 4 or 5 forests. I think you probably want to make at least 4 2/2s for this to be okay.
Yeah.
Spore Mound seems pretty reasonable. And then Sensory Deprivation would be the other one I'd be looking at in this pack.
What do you think has looked most open coming from your right so far?
Well, we've seen some good green cards,
yeah.
And I think Sensory Deprivation is pretty strong too, and it'd be nice to play the Jace, so I think it's probably... And it might just be my tilt towards green and blue that leads me to that belief, but in this pack I would say green and blue is the strongest. I think I'm going to take the Sensory Deprivation. I think maybe either of those green cards would have been pretty good, but I prefer to play the Jace if possible.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this pack right here, I think we got to get into green.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mark is pretty strong too, but I agree. I think Mystic is probably the way to go. I'm not super impressed with Brindlebore. He's just a 2/2 that you can sacrifice to gain some life, but I think out of this pack, the Mystic is probably by far the strongest pack. I mean, Talons and Mark are both pretty good auras, but I think the Mystic is probably the way to go.
Yeah, the Mystic's the best card, and I think every single pack we've seen so far has had a strong green card at least, if not more.
Alright, yeah, let's just jump into the with that and see what happens. And there's a Rumbling Bailiff, so that's a really late... I'd say it's a pretty late Rumbling Bailiff. I mean, a 4/4 for 4 is just such value. I mean, I'm not super impressed with the black cards. Another Sensory Deprivation wouldn't be bad, and knowing what we know now, taking one of those, like the Spore Mound, might have been the better choice over the first Sensory Deprivation, but I don't feel like... the Spore Mound would have been good, but I think we can happily snap up the Bailiff here and feel like it does look like blue and green might be pretty open.
Well, yeah, and that also helps us cut off the green, which may be happening to our right, but with this many strong green cards in consecutive packs, yeah, that looks good to me.
Alright, we'll run that. I'm not sure what Path of Bravery does.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's that great. So you have to have a way to gain life or at least be at 20, otherwise it does nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm not a huge fan of that. That being said, there's not a ton in here. I mean, we could take a Negate for like a sideboard card or a Sliver Construct and see if we pick up some of those green slivers, which are kind of okay.
There's also Sentinel Sliver.
Yeah.
Which puts us into a fourth color, but...
Yeah, but it's good to I'd like to stay open. I think maybe that's the best choice. We don't really have anything great for Auramancer at this time. I guess Sensory Deprivation. Thunderstrike would be okay, but...
You don't like that Elixir of Immortality at all, do you?
Not really. I think it'd probably be more of a sideboard type of card.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'd rather take a card that's just going to be good much of the time. I think Academy Raider's decent, but I think it's probably Time Ebb here.
Yeah.
I don't think these staves are any good. I think you'd have to be pretty hard up to want to play that. Or maybe if you were mono green, you'd want to play the green one, maybe. I'm not even sure about that.
Yeah, I think this one would probably be, for me, either Time Ebb or Sliver Construct, but...
I think I'm happier taking the Time Ebb here.
Yeah, our blue's stronger than our Sliver Tilt, so...
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think this is good, but we're not really running, we're probably not running Slivers, and there's actually... We could play the Verdant Haven or the Coral Merfolk, and I'm going to go ahead and go by cost sort here. We're probably not playing the Diplomats, but I'm going to leave it up. I think... there's something to be said for the Verdant Haven with mana fixing, but there's also something to be said for just picking up a 2-drop in our colors. What do you think?
Yeah, Verdant Haven leaves us more open, especially if the slivers do come around.
Alright, I think that's fine. I do like Verdant Haven, and I don't think you're losing a lot by passing on a 2/1.
Yeah.
These cards are all okay. We're pretty not red. I mean, you could take a Minotaur or a Wild Guess, but I think it's probably between the Cancel and the Groundshaker Sliver. I don't think give a 5/5 for 7 is amazing, and I don't think giving your slivers Trample is all that amazing unless you end up with just a ton of them, but what do you think between that and a Cancel?
Yeah, either one.
I'm gonna pick up the Cancel.
Ooh. I like Lay of the Land here. I mean, Negate is okay, and you know, you can run it in a blue deck and never feel terrible, but usually more of a sideboard card, and yeah, I like fixing.
Yeah, and we're not really super aura heavy for like a Glade Cover Scout. I'm fine with the Lay of the Land. It depends on how aggressive you're trying to be. Obviously, it's not a very aggressive card, but it does do some fixing. I think Auromance is fine. I mean, Millstone is a possible win condition, I guess, if you're in some sort of like a really drawn out game, but what do you think, the Auromance would probably?
I would hack the Millstone from whoever took that Traumatize, but either way.
Yeah, alright. Well, whatever. I don't think it probably really matters too much.
No.
And I don't think we're probably going to play the old Merfolk Spy. I don't think I really need to see random cards if he gets in, so I'll just snake up a Congregate, which we won't be playing. And let's see what we open here, I guess. Yeah, we'll stop it. Alright, so run out a little time on this pick. There's nothing here in green and blue. I'm not super stoked about a Seacoast Drake. Nothing in green, so we're going to pull out the Flames here since it's the strongest card by a lot.
What's that?
That's a 3/3 flying, prevent all combat damage. That's pretty good, but look at these cards though.
Oh wow.
There's an Air Servant, which is just nuts, and a Woodborn Behemoth, which this card is... I've been crazy impressed with this card. I ran it in the pre-release sealed and in a draft, and a Rumbling Bailiff. This pack is full of green. Don't know why none of these could have been in the last pack.
Yeah, I actually somehow missed that rare up until now. That looks super strong, but
This does look very strong, but I think...
I mean, when there's already strong cards in
Yeah.
all colors.
I think this one is legit for sure. A 3/3 prevent all combat damage flyer, but I think it's going to be
Seems
between
good.
the Air Servant and the Woodborne
Yeah,
Behemoth.
which one?
And that's a tough call. I mean, I think our green... I mean, I'd be okay not playing, like, a Lay of the Land or something.
Any consideration for Baloth or Spider, or are those just weaker?
I think Bailiff is very good, but I don't think it's on the same level as one of these two cards, and same with Spider. And I think... Man, this is tough. I guess we'll take the Behemoth because it keeps us in heavy green, and there's a Jace's Mindseeker. So I guess we are going to be blue and green. I think on that last pick it was really close between the Behemoth and the Air Servant.
Air Servant has been very good every time I've seen it in play.
Yeah, and if I thought for sure we were playing blue, I might have leaned toward that over the Woodborne Behemoth. I think it's a tough choice, though, between those two cards. And they're both 5-drops, so it's not like they're taking a similar spot.
It's not all that hard to get up to 8 lands for Behemoth, and once you get to an 8/8 trample, I mean, there's not a lot of ways to deal with that.
Yeah, he's not bad on turn 5, and he's very good when you have 8 lands. So, I mean, we're snapping up the Mindseeker here.
Let me read this.
Yeah, this one is he's a 4/4 flyer, and your opponent puts the top 4 cards into their library into their graveyard, and you can cast an instant or sorcery without paying for it.
How often? I mean, we're taking it anyway, but
Yeah,
how often do we
definitely
think
taking
that triggers half the time?
I would say it probably triggers half the time. When you get 5 cards, I guess it depends on what you're playing against, but I would say probably half the time is probably pretty reasonable. Again, now after running super strong green and blue, a little bit less. I'm not super stoked. I mean, Caption Knight seems fine, I guess.
Does look like we're getting white back from the left for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, and I think Charging Griffin's probably the strongest card in the pack if you're just avoiding color. I don't want to play 2 Lay of the Lands.
Well, I think as far as fixing goes, I mean, Darksteel Ingot, it's lower. It comes down on 3.
Yeah.
But tap for any color is pretty strong.
That's true. I mean, we're almost certainly going to play 2 colors. I guess we could splash like an Ingot and play like a Flames or something, and it's between that and like a Negate. So I guess maybe we'll just pick up the Darksteel Ingot in case we want to play it.
Yeah, and if we see another very strong red, that would influence us to play the Flames and that.
Yeah, I think that's true. Again, here there's a Mark, which I think is pretty good, and a Celestial Flare, which is also pretty good, but I think the Train Condor is a pretty easy pick here.
Oh, yeah.
This guy is just nuts. I mean, even Archaeomancer.
What's that on the bottom line? Oh, Advocate
of the Beast, which I don't think we have a ton of beasts. We got 1. That's not a beast. We have 1 beast, so that's not...
Yeah, no, I would definitely go with the Condor here, but just, I want to say, Advocate of the Beast has been a lot stronger than I would have thought. I mean, just as a 2/3 for 3 is okay.
The 3 toughness seemed to come into play a bit.
Yeah, and the Beast part of it triggered a lot more often than I thought. I think there's 2 or 3 common beasts and 1 uncommon, and I could be wrong about that, but even if you just get 1, the added value is pretty solid.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, well, I think if
Condor's awesome.
Condor's really good, and the Celestial Flare was good. So here there's some okay cards here for sure. I think the Marauding Maulhorn's actually pretty good. It's been pretty. It's like a 5/3.
Oh yeah.
The fact that it has to attack isn't nearly as much of a drawback on a guy who has 5 power as it is on like a 2 power like a Riot Piker or something.
Right, Riot Piker gets pretty silly by turn 4 or 5.
Yeah, you want to be swinging with your 5 power guy, but that's not what we're taking here.
Yeah.
It's going to be between the Troll Hide and the Bramble Crush. I think this is probably more of a sideboard type of card. It's good against Jace.
I think Troll Hide is. I mean, as auras go, being able to regenerate your guy right away so he doesn't die is pretty solid.
Yeah, I think so too, and that would have been my choice also. I think Bramble Crush would have been fine, but I think that's a better way to go. Here, I mean, we're not really trying to go all in on the discard plan. I mean,
no.
With Jace, it's a zero ability to put the top 10 cards in their graveyard. So you get Jace and you do that in 2 or 3 turns, and you're probably just going to win. You don't really need to add a value to that. I don't think.
Jace wins on his own.
Yeah.
What does Glimpse the Future do? Sorry.
Sure. Look at the top 3, put 1 in your hand.
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't be terrible if it was an instant, but I think the sorcery is enough of a drawback. So here's between the Spore Mound and the Disperse.
Both pretty solid.
Which I think are both pretty good, but we're kind of light on creatures. I think I'm going to take the Spore Mound here. I mean, we're getting a little high on our 5 drops, but wow, that's a late Rumbling Bailiff. Oh, yeah. And I love Frost Breath too. Ooh. This card has been nuts for me. I've read reviews of people saying like, yeah, it's okay, or people who want to pass this card, but the fact that it's an instant and you can cast it on your opponent's turn.
Just for a little background, Kevin here had 3 of those in the draft that we played against each other last weekend, and that card was insane. You couldn't beat it.
That card is insane. I think Shiv's Embrace is pretty good too. That being said, I think the 4/4 for 4 is just too strong.
Yeah, I agree.
I would happily play that Frost Breath, but I think picking up a creature with this much just pure value is too strong.
Well, how about a 1/1 for 1 instead?
Yeah, 1/1 for 1 is almost as good as a 4/4 for 4. This one's even got hexproof. It's probably better than this card, actually.
They can't Doomblade your 1/1 for 1.
They cannot. I think the best card might be this Accursed Spirit. I might just pull it out of the pack, because I don't think I'm going to be playing Violet Poison, and that Intimidate would get us. So,
ooh.
I think these are both very good cards.
You like the Guile over the Scatter?
I think I think it could go either way, and this card is very good at keeping your creatures alive because of the +1/+1 and hexproof, but I think the Scatter's fine. This obviously is a format where there's going to be a lot of creatures, so you like the Scatter?
I think they're pretty comparable, but I like the Scatter, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm fine running the Scatter. I don't mind the Ranger's Guile. We don't have any creatures we absolutely have to keep alive, except for like a Woodborne Behemoth. I guess if you put an Enlarge on something, it's nice to be able to make sure it gets through with the Ranger's Guile, but I think Essence Scatter is pretty strong. I guess we'll pick up the Fog. I don't think we're probably going to play it, but if someone wants to pick up a Festering Newt, so be it. I think probably just pick up the Negate for the sideboard. I mean, we can hate draft a Nightwing Shade, but I'm not too worried about that.
If they want to play a 2/2 for 5, let them.
Yeah. So we'll just pull out some cards here. Very clearly we're not playing white, so we can just go ahead and hide those. We got the Staff in blue, so we're all set now. So I'd say this deck is... I think it's pretty good. I mean, we should pick up creatures.
22?
22.
And there's probably, 3 or 4
and I guess
that
we're not playing the...
not to play.
Well, I'm not playing that. I'm not playing the Staff. Yeah, and there's a Bone Scythe Sliver. This guy is nuts if you're playing Slivers, which we're not, so we'll just move on from that.
Speaking of Slivers...
Yeah, but this guy is very strong. There's another Frost Breath. Hopefully that would wheel, but it depends on what people are playing. But I think the 2/2 for 2 is pretty strong. Unfortunately, in our deck, it's almost certainly just going to be a 2/2 for 2, which is a little disappointing. It doesn't... I mean, you pick up another one or something, it would be good. But I think...
It's kind of like in M13 when you take your first... whatever that wolf was, that pumped the other wolves. You take the first one in the last pack. It's like, doubtful it'll get pumped, but...
Yeah, and I mean...
you could take the Frost Breath over it.
I think at this point with 7 creatures, we need to get some creature count up, though.
Okay, fair enough.
I do like Frost Breath, but it's not going to do us a ton of good without creatures, so Shock's also very good. I mean, there's some good cards in this pack. Wall of Swords is pretty nuts, too, I think.
Yep.
Master Diversion. I wouldn't mind the Plummet. Oh. And there's a lot of good stuff here.
I didn't even see the Master,
Yeah, but we'll take the Sliver and stay on course here. And again, kind of a miss here. Best card in this pack is probably the Pitchburn Devils.
I mean, you've got... what do we have? We have the Ingot, the Lay of the Land. I guess that's it, right?
That's all our fixing, yeah.
But I mean, what are we passing up for it?
Are you looking at the Pitchburn?
Yeah.
And if we play the Pitchburn Devils, we could also splash the Flames of the Firebrand, which I must have hidden already. Which is true. I mean, it might be worth doing. I don't want to play 2 Verdant Havens, and I don't want to play...
Oh, actually, yeah. So you do have 3 ways of fixing right now, right? The Verdant Haven, and the
Dark Stealing it. So maybe it's worth taking the Pitchburn Devils, which is a pretty strong creature, and see how the deck ends up. Maybe we won't play it anyway, but it's probably better than... I'm not going to play the second Verdant Haven.
I would take it over a card you're not going to play.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm going to play in a Quarter Shield, so...
Hopefully not.
Alright, so we'll pick that up. There's another Pitchburn Devils. What is the Elite Arcanist? Okay, so you can
It's a very shaky. Oh gosh, what was that old artifact that did that?
Yeah,
oh, man.
I don't remember the name of it, but I know you're talking about. But we don't have a ton of instant cards that are really good.
I mean,
in fact, we have no instant cards that are.
Okay, well, in any case, there is an opportunity and a spider here.
Yeah, and I think both are good choices. And an Essence Scatter and a Ranger's Guile.
And a Howl of the Night Pack, for what it's worth.
And a Howl of the Night Pack, yeah. I like this card, but I don't think... We're already so 5 heavy.
Yeah, and we're thinking about splashing red. That
I think Opportunity is really what I want to play.
Yeah, that's tough between that one and Spider.
The Spider's good, and we are short on creatures, and a 4-drop's good, but... I don't know. Draw 4 is pretty strong.
It is.
Let's run that. I think Spider's good, and maybe that's the wrong choice. There's another Enlarge, which is obviously better the more creatures you have, which at this point is not a lot. There's also an Elvish Mystic, which is pretty strong, and a Divination, which isn't bad.
Our creature count is 9.
Our creature count is 9, but...
And one of those is a red card?
One of them's a red card. So yeah, we're 8 creatures. How many Enlarges do you want for 8 creatures? The thing is, Enlarge makes any creature very good.
It does. I mean, and the other creature that we would take is a 1/1.
Right, so it's more of a ramper anyway. I mean, I would say that's definitely the weakness in this deck so far is lack of creatures. Although, I mean, we have some good ones, but...
I mean, I think you could justify taking the Mystic over the Enlarge. Enlarge is obviously a more powerful. I would take the Enlarge and prioritize creatures from here on out.
I think that's what I would like to do as well. So, I mean, we do have a ton of 5-drops. That's another thing we probably should have considered. But, and because of that, I think we have the Brindlebore or the Scroll Thief.
They're both creatures.
And they're both creatures.
You have the Condor for the Spirit Thief, or the Scroll Thief, rather.
True. The Scroll Thief does combo with Trade Condor, so does Double Enlarge because of the Trample.
Oh, yeah.
So I think maybe that's the choice, because I don't really love Brindlebore that much anyway. Plus, this guy's a better defender.
Yeah, you're paying the same amount for the same total amount of power toughness.
And this guy gives us a little bit more defense. Plus, with the Trained Condor, I think it's a better choice.
Yeah, I like the possibility of drawing cards more than gaining 4 life.
I agree. Oh, that's an interesting card. It's probably not something we need to draft, but it is an interesting card for Constructed.
I think it would be an interesting card for a draft deck that had lots of creatures as well.
Yeah, I mean, it does come in with a +1/+1 for 1. And you can flash it in.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're playing it, you're planning to flash a guy in to block and eat one of their guys anyway. Yeah. So you're not losing that card advantage.
Right. With that being said, I mean, if we don't take that, we're going to take a Merfolk Spire Gladecover Scout. And I know we're short on creatures, but I mean, I guess Gladecover Scout Enlarge is a thing, I guess.
You might have to.
I'm going to take the Summoning, I think.
Alright.
Yeah, I don't know that... Alright, there's a Frost Breath, which again is much better if you have creatures. Because it gives you a way to attack, but...
Well, it's good even if you don't, because then their creatures aren't attacking through your empty board.
That's true. This is the don't get attacked for 2 turns.
Yeah, I think people are going to start taking that card a lot higher. I mean, just the playing it on their turn so they're blanked for 2 attack steps and a block step is pretty strong.
Yeah. Oh, we can play the all silly card deck with this and Savage Summoning where... your next sorcery can be cast as though it had flash. I think Time Up has to be the pick here. I like Death Gaze Cockatrice a lot, but obviously we're not going to do double black at all. None of these cards really have any possibility other than Quicken or
a couple red cards and a double black card.
Quicken and Time Up are literally the only choices, and I think Time Up just has to. And there's another. So the Frost Breath did wheel. This card, by the way, this card is better than you think. Just know that.
What pick are we on?
We're on pick 39.
Well,
9.
Yeah, but
9.
in this pack.
9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We have 38.
It should not be pick 9.
No, it definitely shouldn't. I don't really want to splash this in red, even if we splash red, which I don't know if we're going to. I mean, our creature count is so low, but I think it's got to be another Frost Breath anyway. Just build us some time. We're definitely low on creatures. It doesn't look like we're going to get any back. I don't know about a second Verdant Haven, though. I mean, I guess...
You might as well.
Might as well take it, and if we need to, we can splash those red cards.
Hey!
There's a Howl.
There's some creatures.
So, I mean, that's got to be the pick.
Yeah. Hey, maybe 7 of them.
Yeah. That's got to be the pick, and we might play it. And hey, look, a 2-1. I think we have to play a Coral Merfolk.
I agree.
At this point, I think we got to play a 2-1. And there's a Brindabor. So
you were worried about creatures. Come on.
Yeah, our creature count is off the chain now. So yeah, we'll build this up a little bit, and then come back and chat about what we are thinking regarding whether we're going to splash red or not, and what our final picks are. Alright, so we've been looking at this, and this is, I think, what we're going to go with. We are going to pull the red cards out and see if we think that's a better build. We are a little creature light on 11, but we do have some good delaying type cards. I mean, Trollhide's obviously better with more creatures, but it's strong when you get it on a creature, and I think our spells are pretty good. Some of our creatures, like the Bailiffs, are pretty good. These enlarges are very strong. I'm going to keep I guess we'll pull Jace down here. He's not technically a creature, and so that's kind of what it looks like. If you're, I'm going to keep the Howl by the creatures, though.
Oh, so we really have 12 creatures.
Yeah, I would say Howl is that. So we almost got like 14.
Yeah.
14 creatures.
Well, sure, just wait long enough and we have 20 creatures.
If you hit your 7-drop. I mean, this is maybe a little ambitious as a 7-drop since we're kind of high on curve. Like, maybe we'd be better off playing a Lay of the Land or a Verdant Haven or Savage Summoning over the Howl of the Night pack. I'm not really sure about that. But I think...
We have a lot of delaying stuff with 2 Frost Breaths, 2 Time Ebbs, and the 2 Enlarges that kind of serve as a removal spell.
True, and an Essence Scatter and a Sensory Deprivation to try to slow down the opposition. And our creatures are pretty strong when they get there. There's not a ton of removal in the set. I mean, there's some in black and red. I mean, there's some. Definitely didn't see any of the green removal, the Hunt the Weak. Didn't see any of those.
Yeah, I mean, we're most worried about playing a black-red deck, right?
Maybe. I mean, the only thing I would say about a black-red deck is that they're pretty... Other than being removal heavy, they don't generally have a lot of creature aggression, so even though they could remove our creatures, I don't know that they're... I mean, maybe. That's been my experience, is that they're kind of low on the creature count as well. But we'll see how that goes, I guess. It is a Swiss draft, so we will play 3 rounds pretty much regardless as to how good or bad this works out, but we can swap things out. I mean, the red cards, we have a Goblin Diplomats, which I guess that would be good early or late, but again, that's better if we have more creatures too, because you're going to make them attack you. That's much better when you have creatures to block. I think
you can't make them attack and then enlarge in response.
Yeah, and you can make them attack and then not block, but that doesn't really help you a whole lot.
No, probably not.
That doesn't do a lot. So, I mean, Flames is really strong, and I think Pitchburn Devils too, but we're already so high in 5 drops. I think we're better off running just straight blue-green.
More consistent.
Yeah, I think so. We'll run this. If we find we're having trouble getting stuff, I mean, maybe Lay of the Land or Verdant Haven is good here.
What would be our cuts if we tried to put... Because we'd have to put in Lay of the Land, Verdant Haven, and Darksteel Ingot to run the red, right?
Yeah, and I don't think I'd run the red. I think that's too much to cut for cards that are good, but like...
Right, but if we were going to run a splash, it would be red, and that's what we'd have to do.
Yeah.
And then we'd essentially have to cut 6 cards out of this deck, which is quite a lot. I mean, all these cards of quality that are in there now.
I agree. I would say that, probably wouldn't want to do that, especially because we don't want to cut creatures, and we don't really want to cut our good spells, because they're pretty good at delay. I mean, at this point, I would say we probably should run it as it is, and if we have trouble, maybe we'll run a Verdant Haven over... Shoot, I don't know, like a Time Ebb or something, but just because our 5 and 6 drops are so high that maybe a Verdant Haven ramping us would be worth doing, but
it looks pretty good as is.
Yeah, let's run it. I mean, my only concern is the double greens and the double blues, but most of them are up in the higher count, and so hopefully the Elvish Mystic will help with that. So let's do a quick count. I'm gonna go get away from this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 green. So 17 and 15. So I think we're going to stick with a 17 land deck, and 9/8 is probably about right. I think.
I think so. I mean, you won Elvish Mystic. My expert opinion is it's best on turn 1.
Yeah. That's some good commentary. I agree. That
You're
is,
welcome.
yeah. This is obviously better early, but it's okay late. I mean, I would say Our 3-drops are pretty heavy in blue, but most of these are delaying type cards, so I would say a pretty even split between blue and green.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to run that back and head to round 1 and see how this goes. It's probably pretty dependent on whether we can just delay long enough to get our strong creatures out there. And at this point in time, I still don't know whether the Woodborn Behemoth or that Air Servant would have been better. Maybe the Air Servant, because it can just win games, but the 8/8 Trample's pretty good too.
Yeah, and especially in an early draft, keep it in mind as we play. How often do we want our Behemoth to be an Air Servant?
That's true, and that's a good point. I mean, I have been very happy with the Air Servant, but I was also very happy with the Woodborn Behemoth. So
they're both very good.
They both seem very good. So, all right, we'll go to game 1 and see how that goes.